Good afternoon. How are we doing? Happy Friday to you all. I hope that you have had a good week. We are in for another 3 weeks of lockdown here in the UK. How do we feel about that? I know a lot of people are actually struggling with it, even though it was quite expected. I've had a few people get in touch saying that they're struggling with that. So how are you doing? Hey, hi, how are you doing? Nice to see you. How are you coping with lockdown? Another 3 weeks, right? Yeah, it's I think it's tough times for a lot of people actually. Hi Daniela, nice to see you. Hi Spoon, thanks for joining. Yeah, lockdown, how are we? How are we feeling about this? I've had a few people actually that are getting in touch with me saying that the first 3 weeks was kind of okay, but now another 3 weeks and the weather's been so amazing. So I wonder how you're feeling about your environment, about where you live. I am so grateful for where I live. I live in East London by the docks. We live right on the water, and every morning my husband and I get up really early. So we've been waking up about 5 o'clock in the morning, and we've been going for a really long early morning walk all around the dock, and just having such a great time, because do you know what? Spring is very truly on the way. I don't know if you've noticed the beautiful spring weather out there that we can't really take advantage of, but every morning we go around there and we watch the sunrise, and the birds are taking absolutely full advantage. So I tell you what, I've become a little bit obsessively interested in mating patterns of all the different birds. So we've seen lots of hanky-panky, lots and lots of chasing, even some mounting of goose upon goose. I'd never thought I'd actually see the thing, but I have actually seen it kind of happening, and all the different mating rituals. Yesterday we saw a couple of pigeons in a tree, and I wasn't quite sure if they were mating or if they were fighting. It was quite violent, flapping their wings and all kinds of things. So really been enjoying that. And we've seen our first baby ducks. So there's lots of nests all around, but we've seen our first baby ducklings. A couple of days ago we saw 3 ducklings that were quite small but not really tiny, so they've obviously been around a while and we've missed them. But this morning we saw 6 tiny babies. There really isn't anything much cuter than small tiny baby ducklings. Absolutely cute, 6 of them, really cool. So if you haven't seen already, check out my Facebook. I posted a little video of those this morning. So absolutely brilliant. Daniela's saying, yeah, ducklings are gorgeous. Honestly, I will never get tired of. There was one of them that kind of went round the corner, and then the mum was going, come on, just watching all the behaviour. Absolutely love it. Anyway, so I am so grateful for where I live and for the opportunity to be able to get outside. As I say, we take full advantage once a day early in the morning so that we can avoid other people, keep ourselves safe and other people as per the instructions. And you know what? I've been really loving the peace and quiet, and I've got loads done. My online program is coming along really nicely. And many of you have been reaching out for support and guidance on getting your business set up for coming out of lockdown. So I've actually been really busy. But what I will say is that I found these last few days quite a struggle, and I wanted to share that with you because I know that I'm not the only one. Although I'm talking to lots of people and keeping in touch, I'm finding I'm really missing the human contact. I don't know about you, but I'm quite a tactile person, and I miss hugging people. Obviously I've got my husband to hug, but I miss hugging people. I'm quite surprised at how much I miss that sort of that human contact. You know, it's great being able to see people on the video, and I'm keeping in touch with friends and family, and obviously I'm doing a lot of client work, but actually being able to meet somebody and actually sit with them in the same space. I find I'm actually been really missing that this week. And just being able to go somewhere different, go to a coffee shop or a restaurant. I'm even missing Gabriel, what a taskmaster he is. We always argue about what I'm eating or my exercise routines or whatever. I'm even missing that. I'm missing the boxing. So yeah, lots of things I'm finding that I've been struggling with a little bit this week. And I know that they are really small problems compared to what a lot of people are having to deal with, but I thought I'd share because I know that I'm not the only one that's finding this all a little bit confronting. So I wondered how you were doing. I wondered whether or not you'd been following any of the advice that I've been sharing with you over the last few weeks. So I decided this week that I ought to follow my own advice. Always good to do that. So I have introduced a meditation back into my routine. So I've been doing a morning meditation, which has really helped. And this morning I realised that I haven't written in my journal for quite some time as well. Another thing that I advised really helps with mindset. And I'm feeling a lot better today. I've had a few difficult days where I've kind of been getting in my head and all of those stuff, you know what I'm talking about. And just those simple things that I advise you, but sometimes you forget to take your own advice. So just a bit of meditation, a bit of yoga. I've spoke about exercise as well. I mean, I've got a treadmill. I've actually got a treadmill behind me. You can't see it because it's one of those collapsible ones. But the treadmill's been an absolute godsend, and also, of course, I can run outside. Although I try to only do that when I know that there aren't going to be other people around. So that exercise has been really important. I don't know actually what I would have done without the treadmill, just sort of keeping myself sane. So I wonder what you guys are doing to keep yourself sane and to keep your head kind of clear. Are you getting in your own head? I do that, you know. I'm a very confident person, but every now and then I'll get that, you know, who the hell are you, and all of that kind of stuff in my head. And yeah, I decided to follow my own advice and start taking some deep breaths, getting involved with yoga and meditation again, and making sure that my exercise routine is keeping up. So last few days, much better actually now. So I'm interested to know how you guys are. Hi Andrew, how are you doing? You're in Dubai, I'm guessing. I hear things are pretty tough out there, so I hope you're doing okay. You might have heard we're another 3 weeks into lockdown in the UK here, which has hit a lot of people actually quite hard, myself included actually. Although I'm enjoying the peace and quiet, although we were expecting it to come, it was still a bit of a like, oh my God, 3 more weeks. Okay, so today we're talking about teams, and maybe you already have a small team working with you in your business, or maybe you're thinking about who that first person might be that you might think about hiring, or maybe you actually can't imagine hiring anybody or being able to afford to hire anybody, but of course that's a bit of a chicken and egg scenario. So why am I talking about teams right now? A lot of people are kind of hunkering down, businesses are kind of on pause, a lot of people are kind of in that wait and see mode, and kind of worrying about what lies on the other side, or wondering about that. But I think now is actually a perfect time to talk about teams, because the truth is that I'm really confident that we're all going to come through this. There's actually never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. Probably there's never been a scarier time, but one of my very favourite quotes is, "Everything you want is on the other side of fear." Have you heard that one? Everything you want, you desire, you dream about is on the other side of fear. And I find that is really helpful. I use that a lot with my clients and also with myself from time to time. And now is actually the perfect time to look at what you're spending your time on, look at your business, and think about growing your team, thinking about what life is going to be like, what you want it to be like as we move forward. So Paula's saying it's taken me this long to get my head straight, feeling really good now. Oh, I'm really glad to hear that, Paula. The first few weeks were really great, and I was energized and enthused, and then I've kind of had a bit of a dip, and I feel like I'm coming back up again. So remember that change curve. I think we're all in different places along that. So, and just remember the fundamentals. Actually, that's what I'm all about. You know, whether it's resilience, looking after yourself, or whether it's fundamentals in your business, it's easy to get distracted by all the shiny, and there are so many distractions out there, whether they're nice, shiny, or not so nice news and bad news and more facts and figures. It's really easy to get distracted, and I'm actually all about helping you come back to the fundamentals of yourself and your business. So I think there's actually never been a better time to think about building a team or expanding your team if you already have one. In my view, it's actually one of the most important things in business is not to do too much yourself. And you've heard me talking about this quite often, but it's worth repeating. We all, I think pretty much every single business owner I've ever met, including myself, tries to do too much in their business. Just because we can, and we're all very capable people, just because we can doesn't mean that we should do. And I know that it is hard to let go. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but when I first started out in my career, when I first started working, I used to think that I had to know what everybody was doing in order to be a good manager. So first of all, I found it very, very hard to delegate. Even when I started to work, I found it really difficult to ask for help and to delegate. And then when I became a manager, I really thought that I had to know what everybody in my team was doing. I thought I had to be better than them at it, and I thought I needed to be able to answer all the questions. And a lot of people that I work with struggle with that as well. It's a thing that I saw a lot when I was working in investment banking. Everybody thinks that they need to, the more senior you are, the more that you need to know. I mean, completely, what a way to burn yourself out. And I also used to believe that nobody could or would do things as well as me. That's a horrible thing to say, isn't it? But I know I'm not alone there as well. I've got incredibly high standards, and I found it really hard to trust and to let go and to believe that anybody else would do things as well as I would. And I thought I needed to know everything, or at least as much or a little bit more than all the people that were working for me. At that time, I was working in a big corporate company, so it wasn't even my company, and I was still finding it really difficult to let go. I was climbing the ladder and I was taking on more and more opportunities and more responsibilities, and I genuinely thought that the only way was to work harder and harder. And I really did put my family and my health at risk. And that is why I am so passionate about this, because I've been there. I understand what that is like. And I really want to help as many people as I can avoid actually what I went through in those early years of working in those big companies where I really got close to burning myself out. And actually, I think the only way that I pretty much avoided it was by becoming a contractor and taking time off every 18 months before I was heading for burnout. I didn't realise that's what I was doing, but I think I realise now that that's what I was doing. So how did I get out of that? How did I kind of learn to trust and let go? So I want to tell you this, and maybe it'll resonate with you. So back in 2002, I got the most amazing opportunity to go and work in India. It was an absolutely fantastic role. I didn't really know much about it. I just kind of got the paperwork, got on the plane and arrived and chucked myself into it. And I was managing a really large team of people in an area of the business that I knew nothing about. It was the same company as I'd been working for here in the UK, but it was completely different. And I found myself managing people who were doing things that I knew absolutely nothing about. I was really, really worried. It was my first big management role, and I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to add value to them because I didn't really understand their market, I didn't understand their products, and I felt completely overwhelmed by the different cultural paradigms, the different way that they did things. Everything was just so new and so different. But do you know what? Actually, I found that the reality and what I thought I needed to do to be a good manager was actually completely the opposite. What my team actually needed from me was guidance and coaching and structure. And so I would ask them what obstacles they were facing, and then I would help them remove those obstacles, and I would ask questions. I realised that I didn't need to know all the details of everything that they were involved in, because when they had a problem, they came to me, told me they had a problem, and then I asked them what I needed to know to be able to help them. And often I would ask them what they thought they needed to do and what support they needed from me to be able to move forward. And that was a completely eye-opening experience for me to realise that actually being a good manager isn't about telling people what to do. It's about helping people solve problems and also giving people the confidence that they can move forward and they can solve problems. That was a completely eye-opening experience for me. And the other thing that I learned, I was working for the marketing director out in India, and he had a really clear strategy of what he wanted to implement and what he wanted to achieve. And what he was looking for is somebody to implement that and make that happen. And that was me. And even though it was a market that I didn't understand and products that I didn't understand and a culture that I didn't understand, he had the strategy, he had a plan, and what I needed to do was make it happen. And that was a real gidding light bulb time for me, because I began to really understand then the magic of different people, different kinds of people working together. Of course, I knew intellectually that we were all different, but then I was really able to see it. Do you see? Up until then, I thought that I needed to become one of those strategic people that had a plan. And then I realised during that time in India that actually those people need implementers. They need people that can get things done. And what I realised then, as it applies to business and when I started working with business owners, is that creative, strategic, ambitious people need other people who can set up and run systems to ensure that businesses thrive, even in these times of unprecedented change. And actually, right now, even more so, we're looking for those people that can complement us. And I actually understood that it was actually the only way for these leaders, if you like, for these creative ideas people, that are often the people that start businesses, so probably most of you on this call, in order to have that freedom to continue to create and innovate, what they needed was implementers and people that can set up and run things like me. And that was completely eye-opening for me. And when I started to think about entrepreneurs and how it applied to that, I realised that actually it applies even more to entrepreneurs than it probably does in big business, which is where I was coming from. And so I see this every single day with business owners that I work with, and I see people giving themselves such a hard time about this. It really seems to be so counterintuitive somehow to allow yourself just to do the bits that you want to do, that is normally the bits that you're really good at. It's counterintuitive, and I see people so often running rings around themselves and beating themselves up and all these shoulds, I should be doing this and I should be doing that, and we give ourselves such a hard time. And I see that all the time in my clients, how they tell themselves that they should be doing more of the finance, the admin, the IT, whatever it is, all those things that drain their energy and suck the life out of them. So think about it like this. Who is the best person in your business at generating revenue? Now, normally when I ask that question, the answer is you, the business owner. Most business owners are, or founders if you like, are the best people at engaging with customers, explaining the product or service, and ultimately closing the deal. And yet so many business owners that I meet allow themselves to be distracted by all the other things that really need to be done. And I've made that mistake in my business in the past. I am great at talking to people about their businesses and helping them see the way forward and get clarity. And yet in the early days of my business, I let myself get distracted by trying to do so many different things, try to build things, trying to do marketing, trying to figure out so many different things that really are not in my flow. So it's something that we can all make that mistake about. And now that I have a team, I'm really encouraging you, and that's why I'm talking about this today, really encouraging you to think about what are the things that you spend your time doing that you don't enjoy. You tell yourself, a lot of people tell themselves, I shouldn't say that you do, but a lot of people that I speak to tell themselves that they can't afford a person or another person in their team. And I always ask them, is this really true? And there's a killer question that I'm going to ask you, that I ask all of my clients, and that is, how much of your time do you spend on business development, on the bit on the creativity, on the bit talking to customers, on the bit delivering to customers, on the bit closing the deal, generating revenue from your business? Probably the bit that you are best at. How much of your time? I have a client that I took on in November, and his answer to that question, he was hugely frustrated, completely overwhelmed. And I asked him that question, and his answer was 10%, I kid you not, 10% of his time on the phone, and he's amazing on the phone with customers selling. I mean, when I was in sales, people used to tell me that I could sell ice to the Eskimos. He's one of those. I mean, seriously, unbelievable. 10% of his time. And he's telling me that he can't afford to hire more people in his team. Crazy. Now, we have hired more people, we have freed up his time, and now he is spending 50% of his time on the phone to customers. And we're even looking to push that up, because I want that to be at 60 or 70% of the time. So this is really what I would encourage you to think about. And I know it sounds like a really, really simple concept, but it's absolutely so important. So a lot of people let themselves be distracted by all the things that need to be done that they could rightly do. You are capable of marketing. You are capable of spreadsheets. You are capable of all these many different things, of doing the admin, of writing all the emails, of scheduling all these things, of doing the filing, whatever else, of doing the IT. You're probably capable of doing all of those things, but is that right? Is that a good use of your time? Seriously? So, if you have salespeople in your team as well, how much of their time is spent with potential customers? I have a client who actually still complains to me about how rubbish her salesperson is at admin, and how she wishes that he was better at filling out the reports and doing the admin that she needs him to do. Crazy. Even though I've had that conversation with her several times, I think I'll be needing to have it again. So if you have salespeople that are good at selling, why don't you let them sell and put systems and processes and maybe even people around to free up their time as much as possible? So whether it's members of your team or whether it's you, really think about that, because that is actually the biggest inhibitor to growth that I know about, that I see in businesses that I talk to all the time. Okay, so when you're looking to onboard a person, whether it's the first person or the 10th person or the 20th person, you've basically got two choices. So option one is to bring on somebody that's like you or like somebody in your team to take on all the excess workload. So if you are doing too much of a particular thing, or somebody in your team is doing too much of a particular thing, if they're swamped with a particular task, then you need to bring on somebody to share that load with you or with them. And in this case, you're probably looking for somebody that is like that person or like you, yeah? So you're looking for somebody that's got a similar way of doing things, a similar outlook, is wired similarly, because they will also then be good at whatever it is that you need them to do. So for example, sales is something that we were just talking about. So if you've actually got too much to do in terms of sales, you might want to hire a salesperson so that you can focus on other things, or just so that you can get more sales, right? So then you're probably looking for something that has similar characteristics to you or to the person that you're trying to clone, if you like. So this is option one, is kind of cloning either yourself or somebody else. And the important thing to understand is that just as they are like you or like the person you're trying to clone in a lot of different ways, they will also struggle with all the things that you struggle with. They will have the same blind spots. They will try and avoid the same things that you're avoiding. They will try and do things in the same way as you, with all those same pitfalls. And this is what I see people often getting wrong. They'll hire somebody and they'll go, oh my God, I love this person. They're just like me. They're so great. They're so great. And then, oh my God, but they're really rubbish at this. I'm like, yeah, you are too, right? So that is a really important thing to remember. And the other thing, crucially, which I remember saying to a client a couple of years ago when he said, oh, why aren't my people more like me? And my answer was, because if they were more like you, they'd probably be off running their own businesses. That's another thing to remember. Okay, so that's first option, is clone yourself. Find somebody that is like you, or like the person in your business that you're trying to clone. And option two And this is really the key to growing your business, okay? Because cloning yourself will only go so far. The key really to growing your business, and I see Sophia has joined us. Hi, you know this very well, Sophia, is to find people who are wired differently than you to take on all of the stuff that you shouldn't be doing and you know that you shouldn't be doing, so that then you can spend your time in your flow, doing the things where you add the most value, generating the business, speaking to the client, raising money, educating people, spreading the word, being creative and innovative, whatever it is that lights you up, where you add that most value. That is really the prize at the end of this, because you started your business for a reason. You were really good and passionate about one particular thing. But the question is, how much of your time are you actually spending doing that now, as opposed to doing all the other things that you tell yourself you should be doing, or that you could be doing. And it's the same for then everybody in your team. So this message that I'm giving you as the business owner is the same as I want you to be thinking about when you're looking at your whole team. So your job as the leader, as the manager, as the founder, as the owner, is to make sure that all of your team members are in their flow for as much of the time as possible. That is your number one goal, is to remove the obstacles from them doing a great job, remove the obstacles from them being in their flow. And remember, sometimes that obstacle might be you and how you are. So important to be able to not just give feedback, but also receive that feedback. It's really important that you're getting your people lined up doing what they're good at and not being distracted by all of the other stuff. I know that sounds really simple, right? And in a way it is. It's a simple concept that I think we can all grasp. I'm not telling you anything that you don't kind of instinctively know. But it is a constant process of refining. It is, we're kind of conditioned from a very young age to focus on the things that we're not good at. And I'm telling you to do exactly the opposite. I really am telling you to do exactly the opposite. And so it is a constant process of looking at your calendar, reviewing your time, sitting with your people and reviewing what they're doing and asking that question all the time. Am I in my flow? Are you in your flow? How much of your time are you spending doing those things that are going to make your business fly? Honestly, really, how much of your time are you spending doing that? And if you tell yourself you can't afford somebody, my challenge back to you is, if you had more time to be in your flow, how much more money could you generate for your business? So now you've got a cash flow problem, right? You don't really have an affordability problem. So it's a timing issue, okay? But that's a different problem to solve than I can't afford another person, which is what a lot of people say to me. So it is that constant process of refining and reviewing. And ultimately, it is all about being efficient and productive, right? We've all got the same 24 hours in the day, and so you want to make the most out of your time. I want to make the most out of my time, and you want your people who you're paying to get the best out of their time. You also want them to be happy and engaged in their work. So this is not a choice between are they happy or are they productive. People actually like being productive. People like being busy and engaged and challenged and stimulated, and you can do that by helping them be in their flow. And that will be different as you build a team to what your flow is. And this is actually when it gets tricky. So it starts with you. It starts with understanding how you're wired, and there are a number of different tools out there that can help you do that and help you start that process. So the one that I use with my clients is Talent Dynamics, which obviously I highly recommend. It talks about energies and helps you understand what activities put you in your flow and give you energy, and what activities drain you. But there are lots of other different tools out there if you prefer. But that's where it has to start, because of course you know yourself, you're self-aware, I'm sure. But actually what tools like Talent Dynamics can do for you is really help you quite specifically understand what puts you in flow, what activities actually put you in flow. It's a shortcut to spending quite a bit of time asking yourself that question. And I was amazed actually when I started using talent dynamics in my business at how eye-opening and mind-blowing it is for people when they kind of see it on a piece of paper. I'm sure Sophia won't mind me sharing with the group that, you know, Sophia's a very intelligent, self-aware person, but when we did her profile, it was absolutely gobsmacking for her to see there's this energy called steel, which is the structure and the systems and the processes, and that the thing that she had really had to kind of force herself to do in her business. She actually runs a charity, and so she set all of that up from scratch when she was actually quite young, and she'd had to kind of battle through all of that, and was, when I met her, was kind of finding that wasn't fun anymore, and she was kind of falling out of love with what she was doing and thinking that maybe she needed to leave or do something else. And when we looked at her profile, we could see she's got, I don't remember what it is, Sophia, what is it, 5% I think, of this steel energy, which is this structures and systems and processes. And I think it was quite liberating for her to go, oh my God, now I can see why that was always such a struggle for me. And now I can see that we need to find somebody else to do all of that stuff so that I can go out and be in my flow. So it's a simple concept, but actually it's absolutely fundamental. And once you start looking at your business in that way, and when you start looking at your people in that way, the people that are around you, the people that are in your team, the people that you're working with, even your customers, it absolutely changes your perception of what is possible in your business. So you've probably got a concept of how big or successful your business can be, and that might be fine for you. I work with people that are saying, you know, do you know what, I just want a nice lifestyle business, and that's absolutely fine. I'm absolutely not here to tell you all that you need to be building multinational world domination companies, not at all. But you can be more successful, you can get more of what you want, whether it's more time, more money, more freedom, whatever it is that you want, or a bigger team or a bigger company. It is about getting really clear about what you want, and then getting really clear about who you are and what strategies are going to work well for you. And then it completely changes, this process completely changes your understanding of what is possible for you and for your business. So imagine if the people that are generating revenue in your business, whether that's you or members of your team, if they were only generating revenue, what would that do for your business? How would your business be performing then? And would you be telling me that then you couldn't afford to take on another person to do all those things that you really would rather not be doing? If you believe in your product or service, and I'm sure that you all do, then what is actually stopping you getting to market or growing faster? What is it? And for most people, it's lack of time, it's lack of bandwidth, it's lack of headspace. We tell ourselves that it's all about sales and marketing, and maybe it is. I'm not, when I talk about shiny, I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying in order to have the time and the headspace to focus on sales and marketing, if that is what you need to be doing to grow your business, you need to be giving yourself that maximum headspace and that maximum time to do that. And that means getting other people to do everything else in your business apart from those things that are going to grow your business or give you more time and freedom. I know I'm labouring the point, but it is so important, and it will be life-changing for you. Those of you that haven't gone through that process, I really would encourage you to do so. It's really it's really important just to understand how you're wired, and therefore who you need around you to make you successful. Now, I'm making this all sound very easy, I know. Now we get to the tricky bit. Where it gets difficult then, when I'm talking about people who are different than you, is that they are different than you, and therefore that makes them hard to manage. Hard because they're different than you. They approach things differently, they get to the same conclusion or the same outcome in a different way, they think about things differently, they organise things differently, they like different things, they move at different speeds. Just everything is different. And again, I'm not telling you anything that you don't actually already know. But that is one of the biggest challenges for managers, and I know that a number of my clients have not grown because they have found management so challenging, because management makes them sick, and they just don't want to manage people, and so part of what I do is to help people with that, because if that's not really you, then let's find somebody to do that. You kept the thing I want you to take away from this, and the thing that I learned in India and have been learning ever since, is you can find someone to do anything. Spoon, I don't know if you're still on. I remember when we had a conversation, that must be a couple of years ago, you remember that, where you said to me really seriously, do you mean there are people out there that actually like doing data entry? Like, completely incredulous. There really are people out there that like doing all of those things that you don't like doing. Please believe me. Just, if you don't believe me, just trust me, it is true. There are people out there that like doing every single thing that you don't like doing, that drains your energy, that you find boring, that you really don't want to do. Every single thing. There are people out there that like doing that. And I will tell you a little bit more about Sophia. So I remember when I met Sophia and I met Anna, who is the lady that Sophia brought in to actually run the day-to-day of her charity, to release Sophia out to do all of the wonderful things that she wanted to be doing. She was actually feeling guilty about giving Anna all the shit jobs, all the admin, all the boring stuff. And you know what? When I encouraged Sophia to say that to Anna in the room face to face, do you know what Anna's response was? Bring it on, give it to me. Yeah, so even if you're thinking there cannot be people out there that like doing all the stuff that I find boring, trust me, there really is, and I can help you find them if you're struggling. Okay, so back to these different people and difficult people that are so difficult to manage. So this is where it gets a bit more tricky, and if only they were like us, it would be easy to deal with, right? So there are strategies and there are tips and tricks that I can give you for managing those wonderful people that we're going to bring into our business, or those people that we already have in our businesses that we find challenging because they see the world through different spectacles, and they react differently, and they move at different paces, and they do things differently, and why aren't they just more like us? So next week we are going to be talking about managing people, and I'm going to particularly focus on managing remotely, because that's what we're all having to do at the moment, so I'll make sure that I definitely talk about that next week, and how to handle the fact that we just are all so different. Again, it sounds like an obvious thing, but it is actually one of the most challenging things that people find about management, so I'm going to delve into that. I would love to know your thoughts and your questions on this or on any other topic. And I'm going to wrap up now. My message to you is, if you are alone in your business, then your business will not grow. If you don't think that you can afford somebody, then you can. Let me help you with that. If you think that you don't know how to manage people, you can, and we'll talk about that next week. If you don't know how to find the right person, then we can also talk about that. But the right people are out there, the right people that will complement you, will share responsibility with you, will take all the things off of your plate that you really don't like doing. And the brilliant thing is, they will love doing them. So that's what I want to leave you with today. I hope that has been useful and thought-provoking and insightful. I've enjoyed talking about it. It's one of my favourite topics. So please don't do everything yourself. Please don't burn yourself out. Please get yourself help and support in your business. I'm not necessarily talking about full-time people. I'm not necessarily talking about employees. I'm talking about people that help you in your business so that you don't do everything yourself. Stop doing everything yourself, please. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up now and wish you all a very, very happy Friday. And whatever you're doing this weekend and whoever you're with, I wish you a really happy and peaceful time. If you're having a good time, if you're enjoying this time, please keep enjoying it. If you're having a difficult day, like I had a few difficult days earlier on this week, take a deep breath. look back if you'd like at some of the lives I've done over the last few weeks with some practical tips on keeping yourself sane and healthy, both mentally and physically. And remember, if you're not okay, then your business can't be okay. So it's not selfish to look after you. Please look after you. I wish you a happy and peaceful weekend. Take care, stay safe and keep in touch. And if you want to talk, you know where I am. Bye for now.